this week's parsha. Every parsha has a lesson in itself, many lessons. And this week's parsha, parshas Korach, has a very, very powerful lesson that we all have to learn from.
He was richer than Trump.
I'm sorry?
He was richer, he had more money than Trump.
Okay, yeah, more money than Trump. Okay, the money was in different value than today, yes. But not only was he a wealthy person, he was a pikeach. He was a smart person, and yet his Yetzer Hara got the better of him. And we know that Chazal tell us about Korach, and let's talk about the problem that Korach had and what transpired. Our rabbis tell us, Chazal tell us, Ezi machlokes shehi l'shem shamayim, which is a machlokes, a dispute, which is for the sake of heavens, for Shem Shamayim. It's Hillel v'Shamai. Hillel v'Shamai. Ezi machlokes shelei l'shem shamayim. What's the opposite of this? What is a dispute that's not for the sake of God, not for the sake of Shemaim? It's Korach v'Adasai. It's Korach and his whole group that came along with him. There's many discussions about what Chazal mean, but I want to start tonight's shiur with a quote from Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, very famous Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, Zechat Tzaddik Livracha. He was a goyin, he was a very wise Talmid Chacham, and he asked two questions. He says, number one, that's Ezi machlokes shehi l'shem shamayim. Chazal asks, what is a dispute that's for the sake of heaven? Many machlokes. Open the Gemaras, open many times throughout history that we have a dispute that wasn't personally, that wasn't just jealousy, but it's for the sake of shamayim, it's for the sake of heaven. Why specifically do Chazal, do the rabbis say that this is the machlokes only Hillel v'Shamai? And secondly, it sounds like only Hillel v'Shamai, but everything else is not l'shem shamayim. Everything else is not for the sake of heavens. And then a moment later, Chazal tell us, Korach v'Adasai, Korach, and when he complained about Moshe and Aaron, it's shelei l'shem shamayim. It sounds like other ones are for the sake of heavens. So it seems like a stira, a contradiction, minei ubei. So Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz gives us a klal. He tells us what this all means. He says, we know that many people we're born with a trait of jealousy. We're all born with jealous traits. How do we know this? Take a young child. You want to have an example or a proof that we all have jealous tendencies. Take a 2-year-old child and put a ball in front of him. Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz doesn't give this example, but let me just try to expound on his thought. Put a ball in front of him. He's so happy, this child, he has a ball to play with. And then a few moments later, take another 2-year-old child, put him right next to the first child, and give him another ball, maybe a little bigger. And suddenly the first boy is so upset. That boy has a bigger ball than I do? And he starts grabbing it away, fighting for that ball. 5 minutes ago, he was very happy. He was happy with the present, the toy that you gave him. And suddenly when you put another child next to him, he's jealous. So the jealous tendencies were born from a very young age. We have this. And we have to work our entire lives of not using this trait. Machlokes shalai, it has to be machlokes l'shem shamayim. That only when it comes to the sake of heavens. He says, I want to quote Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, but I think it gives us a rule in life. He says, I'm quoting because of our great sins. Kol machlokes, any dispute, tia mashetia, whatever it's about. Hayetzer Hara mefate v'omer shilu shem shamayim. You go to a shul, this one's arguing about this one's arguing about, it's for the sake of heavens, I want to do it because of this and this. Every machlokes, the Yetzer Hara tells us it's for the sake of heavens, it's l'shem shamayim. U'mitzvah gedola, l'hachnia boigdim, but yet at the same time, there's a Yetzer Hara involved. And he says, you know how you prove, you know how you know whether it's l'shem shamayim or not l'shem shamayim? B'zoi sivada, iha mechulakim ubali harivois, heim oyevim gemurim b'leiv v'nefesh. Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz says, you know how you tell you if it's for the sake of heaven, it's l'shem shamayim? If the two people that are arguing, the two groups that are arguing, that besides what they're disputing about, they love each other. They're friends. then it's l'shem shamayim. But im oivim, if they're enemies, if they're arguing and they can't stand each other's guts, then it's shaloi l'shem shamayim. It's not for the sake of heavens. And therefore, Chazal compare the two extremes, Hillel and Shammai and Korach v'Hadassah. Hillel and Shammai were oyavim. They loved each other. They were friends. But yet they had disputes. Machlokes of Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel and Shammai. But Korach, he hated Moshe and Aaron, ready to stone Moshe and Aaron. There was Eva, Vesina, Vekamat, Yiskarula, Moshe. So therefore we know it's Shaloi L'Shem Shamayim. It tells us we have to understand our traits of jealousy. You know, whatever we have and whatever God blesses, Hashem blesses us with and benches us with, sometimes we feel the next person has something better. Till now you were happy. But suddenly the person next to you, he has something better than you have. It's just jealousy. It's Shaloi L'Shem Shamayim. And even when it comes to spiritual matters, where we say this machlokes, how many times people have disputes and they say it's for the sake of heavens, it's for Shem Shamayim. To be honest, in Abish, it says if they're fighting, if they're enemies, then it's Shaloi L'Shem Shamayim. You know, the first time, one of the first times, you know, this point of jealousy that Korach had, as we know, Korach was jealous of Aaron. Aaron, he wanted the position, why only Aaron HaKohen? And Korach was jealous of Moshe and Aaron. We find this jealousy mentioned many times in the Torah. One of the first times that it mentioned, talk about Nachash HaKadmoni, but one of the first times is Cain and Hevel. Cain and Hevel, Adam and Chava's two children, two sons. And what happens? HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens and accepts the carbon of Hevel and not the carbon of Cain. Vayakam Cain el Hevel achiv. Cain gets up and he kills the Vayageu. What happened here? What went wrong? The first children in history, in human history, and one brother kills the other. So the Pirkei de Rebbe Eliezer tells us, Rab Tzadok Omer, Nichnesa kina v'sina gedoyloi b'libo shel Cain. Cain got jealous. He hated his brother. Al shenirtzeis min chasei shel Hevel. Hevel's carbon is accepted and mine's not. And maybe a person might say, it's l'shem shamayim, it's for the sake of heavens. No, he hated him. He couldn't stand him. And therefore he got up and he killed him. And not only that, the Pirkei de Rebbe Eliezer says, Hoisa ishtay shel Hevel, his brother's wife was to Amasa, Yafa Banashim, she was a beautiful lady. Omar, Cain said, Ani erages Hevel achi, look at his wife. His wife is more beautiful than my wife. I'm going to kill him. The ekach es ishtay. I'm going to take his wife. Jealousy. We find jealousy over and over mentioned in the Torah, not only by Cain and Hevel. The most famous jealousy is the jealousy of the Shvatim for Yosef. Vayikanu vayechav. The brothers were jealous of Yosef. And maybe it was L'Shem Shamayim and they had reasons. There's a whole discussion in Chazal. Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz tells us that if there's any hatred involved, then it's Shaloi L'Shem Shamayim. And here we see in this week's parshas Korach, that Korach hated Aaron, hated Moshe Rabbeinu. I want to tell you a story. It's a story told I mentioned it from time to time. The Manchester Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Yehuda Zev Segal, Zecher Tzadik Ubracha, a great rabbi, lived in the 20th century. Story is told, and it's printed in his biography, that a group of people came over to Reb Segal. He was a very kind and compassionate individual, Reb Segal. And they came over and they said, we'd like to build a shul in our community, in our city. I think it was a city in England. And they asked advice to Reb Segal, can we build a new shul in our community? So Reb Segal said, yeah, it sounds like a fantastic idea, great idea, building a new shul. He gave his blessings, he gave his brachas, and he built a new shul in that community. Word got out that there was another rabbi in that community who felt bad. He was, at that time, the only Rav, the only rabbi in the community. Now they're building another shul. And he got jealous. He got upset. He felt maybe it's a threat to his position. No, it's a natural tendency. So Reb Segel, he wanted to calm this rabbi down. So he made a trip to that city when the new shul was built, invited the first rabbi to the opening ceremonies. Reb Segel got up and said the following. He said, "My Rabbi, say, ladies and gentlemen, this community is blessed that we have two outstanding shuls and two outstanding rabbis. And one is not a threat to the other, just the opposite. And it's lahagdil Torah hadira. We want to strengthen Torah. We want to make sure that Torah flourishes in our community." And from that time on, the first rabbi was no longer jealous. He calmed him down. He realized, and he showed him the right path, that it has to be only the Shem Shamayim, Achoikas Shem Shamayim, for the sake of heavens. If it's Shalei Shem Shamayim, if you have other ulterior motives, and the jealousy stems from hatred, then that jealousy is incorrect, is wrong. There's a story told, another story of the Panovitcher Rav. Panovitcher Rav, he was the Rav, a very famous. He built the Panovitcher Yeshiva, one of the outstanding yeshivas, now even in Eretz Yisrael. I think recently I heard that the Panovitcher Yeshiva in Bnei Brak opened a branch in Yerushalayim because people, some of the Talmidim, they couldn't travel because of the virus, and they opened a temporary yeshiva. But it's known for, if you go to Bnei Brak, you go to the Panovitcher Yeshiva just to see hundreds, maybe thousands of Talmidim. The Panovitcher Rav, many years ago, when he moved into Bnei Brak, he opened the Panovitcher Yeshiva. He opened the Panovitcher Yeshiva. And at the same time, he encouraged other people to open another yeshivas in the community. Bnei Brak has many yeshivas, several yeshivas. So some of the supporters, some of the Balabatim of Panovitch came, said, "Rosh Yeshiva, what are you doing? You have your own yeshiva. You're encouraging other people to open yeshivas? It's terrible. It's going to bring down, we need our own support. What are you encouraging other people, other yeshivas to open?" So the Panovitcher Rav answered as follows. He said, there are districts in the world. It used to be in Manhattan, for example. If you wanted to buy flowers, there was a floral district. If you wanted to buy diamonds, it still exists, there's a jewelry district. If you wanted to buy a certain type of item, a leather, there's a leather district. Today, I don't know if it exists because many things are imported. He said, it's not going to affect us. I want that Bnei Brak should be the Torah district. People want to learn Torah. They'll come to Bnei Brak and they'll say, this is a Makam Torah. You think it's going to affect us? Just the opposite. It's going to expand our yeshiva. I want Bnei Brak to flourish with yeshivas. So it's a machlokes. When we talk about jealousy, we're born with this trait, and we have to work our entire lives to overcome these challenges. The challenge of jealousy. And Rabbi Yonasan Eibishitz tells us that if there's any hatred involved, then it's shalei l'shem shamayim. If there's anger between the two sides, then for sure it's not for the sake of heavens. There's a very famous halacha when it comes to, we have to be careful not to overextend ourselves. Korach wanted to be in charge, and he claimed it's for the sake of heavens, and it wasn't. So we know Chazal tell us that when somebody asks you, the gabbai, we have the gabbai, I think, listening to the shir, maybe more than one gabbai, those that listen afterwards, the recorded shir. You go over and ask somebody to be the shliach tzibur. Sometimes you have to go over and ask somebody to be the chazan. So sometimes the person jumps at the opportunity. No, you want me to be the chazan? You want me to be the shliach tzibur? No problem. Chazal tell us no. When it comes to a position of greatness, you don't jump. You don't overextend yourself. Number one, Chazal tell us, a person who's asked to be the chazan, you have to refuse. Because after all, there has to be a balance of humility. And yes, at the same time, we have to do things, l'shem shamayim, and we have to exert ourselves when it comes to leading the tefillos. But at the same time, the first time you say, it's not for me, there may be more important people. Kate said, Chazal said, what are you supposed to do? Pam Rishayna Yisar, the first time the Rav or the Gabbai asks you, could you go over to that? Maybe somebody else. First time. Shniya Mahavev. Second time, it's a hard word to translate. You start getting up, until finally Shlishis, he asks you 3 times. Paishet Yada, Paishet it's Raglaviyah. Then he goes up. So even when it comes to positions of Torah and Tefillah, you don't jump. Because after all, there are people maybe more important than you. Only after 3 times. And the Meshech Chachma tells us, we learn it from Torah. We learn it from Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was the Anav Mikol Adam. He was the most humble individual. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, go and Shalach es Ami, go into Paro and send out my nation. Right? We all know Moshe Rabbeinu. He refuses. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends him. It says twice, Vayomer Moshe Lifnei Hashem. Moshe said in front of God. It says that language twice, only 2 times in the entire Torah. Lifnei Hashem. Lifnei Hashem. What does it say? Vayomer Moshe Lifnei Hashem. Hey b'nei Yisrael Shumei. They're not going to listen to me. Then again it says, Vayomer Moshe Lifnei Hashem, in front of Hashem. Hey ani aras fasem. I can't speak. I'm not a speaker. I'm not an orator. Ve'ech yishmei Paro. How can Paro listen to me? Until finally he went and he accepted the shlichus. He became the messenger of the Rebbeinu Shalom. So the Meshech Chachma in Parshas Va'erei tells us, why twice? Because after all, it's like a chazan. You want to lead the entire tzibur. It's an important position. Are you the most important person? Are you pushing yourself in front of everybody else? So you don't, jealousy, kinna, kavod, all these things are intertwined. The first time you say no, somebody else may be more important than me. And not only that, the second time you also don't jump until the 3rd time. So if somebody asks you to be the chazan, you don't jump. The only time you jump, the only time you go up is if you get an aliyah. Somebody calls you up to an aliyah, you have to run to get the aliyah. But to be in a position of leadership, to be in a position of where you're going to lead the tefillos, 2 times you say no, until finally the 3rd time. Lamdecha Torah, the Lashon of the Meshech Chachma, is Moshe Rabbeinu taught us derech eretz, l'shliach tzibur. Here, Korach, he's pushing himself ahead. Aaron is nothing. I should be in charge. I'm the one. Vayikach Korach. So Meshech Chachma tells us that we learn from Moshe Rabbeinu himself that you don't push yourself ahead. You have to be humble at that time. Even when it comes to ruchnius, even when it comes to tefillah. By the way, we know there's one exception to this rule. There's an exception, the Emes Avin L'Gadol, if a great person, maybe somebody asks you to go, you after 3 times until the 3rd time you go. But if a Gadol, if an important person asks you go right away. So how come Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem is asking him, you refuse 2 times? And the language is, hey, Vayomer Moshe Lifnei Hashem. Meshech Chachma says Lifnei Hashem represents, he's explaining why he's not going, he's refusing 2 times. So why? After all, we know the halacha is if somebody important asks you, a rav, or somebody, you go. A misavil l'gadol, you don't refuse a gadol. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the gadol shebegedolim. He's the Rebbeinu Shalom, master of the universe. Moshe Rabbeinu has to refuse twice. So Tosfos tells us, very fascinating, that bedover gasis, but over here he's going to be leading Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be the leader of Klal Yisrael for 40 years. So then, V'srara, afilu if he's Adam Gadol, Normally in Adam Gadol, if it's something important to ask you, you go right away. But when it comes to a very important position, you refuse. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu, he refused 2 times. Hey, he gives excuses why he can't go until finally the 3rd time he goes. So this week's parsha, if you want to summarize, it's how we have to overcome our jealous traits, our jealous characteristics. We're all born with it. No one could say that you see somebody else with something nicer, something better, that it brings a level of jealousy. You want what he has. You want a Moshe Rabbeinu. And by the way, in this week's parsha, where Korach says, Aaron, he's complaining about Aaron HaKohen. You look at the parsha, Aaron doesn't say a word. Aaron doesn't answer. The Ramban tells us in this week's parsha that Aaron remained silent. He remained silent through all this whole ordeal. Moshe Rabbeinu is going back and forth with Korach. So sometimes people push themselves ahead and they claim it's in the sake for Shem Shamayim, for the sake of heavens. No. Korach teaches us, you know, so we have to have a balance of sometimes we have to come forward. A person can't be humble all the time. When you have a possibility of exerting yourself, of putting yourself and helping when it comes to ruchnius and spirituality, yes. Vayigba riboy b'derech, vayigba riboy, as it says in the pasuk, b'darchei Hashem, you pick yourselves up when it comes to serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but at the same time you have to be humble. You don't overexert yourself. You don't put yourself in a position that you're not supposed to be put in. And therefore, Korach teaches us where he claimed it was for the sake of Shamayim. He claimed he was a pikeach, he was a wealthy person, he's the right person for the job. No, he wasn't. So yet, sometimes we have to push ourselves ahead. Sometimes we could accomplish something. And sometimes there are people maybe better than us, and we have to take a step back. So it's a balance in life. And even when it comes to Shem Shamayim, even when it comes to things of Shamayim Dika things, heavenly things, we have to know our limitations. You know, Rashi tells us, Vayikach Korach, he took. What did he take? Vayikach Korach, it doesn't say what he took. What did Korach do? He's arguing with Aaron. He's arguing with Moshe Rabbeinu until he was punished. What did he take? So Rashi says, he took himself to one side. He's starting a fight. I'm on the other side of the fence. So I saw a beautiful pshat from Rabbi Dov Machlis. Somebody pointed it out. A beautiful, beautiful interpretation. He took himself litzad to the side. Echad, one. Extra word, litzad. It should just say, he took himself litzad to the side. That means he doesn't want to be part of this group. He feels he's better than everybody else. He feels that he could accomplish better than more than Aaron HaKohen. What's echad? So the Moshe Rebbe, Zechat Tzadik Avracha, gives the beautiful interpretation, a fascinating interpretation. Chazal tell us the same word echad is used somewhere else when the Chachamim talk. Echad hamarbe, we know, many people are familiar with this Mama Chazal. Echad hamarbe, v'echad hamamit, whether you do a lot, whether a person accomplishes a lot, or echad hamaimit, or a person who does a little, as long as you have the right intentions. So the question that's asked is, I don't understand, a person who sits 20 hours a day, a whole day and a whole night, he's sitting and learning, l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven, tzaddik, greatest tzaddik, a masmid. Another person, he learns 10 minutes a day. You telling me they're the same? Chazal tells us, echad hamarbe, you do a lot, echad hamaimit, you do a little, as long as you, how could that be? He's sitting and working and learning a whole day and a whole night. He's sitting in the base medrash. He's accomplishing so much. Another person, a person who does chesed, its entire life, he's only doing kindness to other people. Another person doesn't know it. He does a drop. It's the same? As long as he has intentions? What does that mean? So he explains it now. We're misinterpreting this Maimer Chazal. We know Echad HaMarbe ve'Echad HaMaimet. It means, I'm going to read the following. Echad HaMarbe refers to not you want to be Echad HaMarbe means you have to be Marbe K'vod Shamayim. You know what? Echad HaMarbe ve'Echad HaMaimet, a person who adds for the sake of heaven, he's adding for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He wants to do things to accomplish in spirituality. On one hand, he's doing that. Ve'echad HaMaimet. But on the other hand, he doesn't care about himself. His whole intention is for sake of heavens, for Shamayim. But for himself, he doesn't want any pat on the back. So he interprets Chazal a little differently. Normally, we interpret it means Echad HaMarbe ve'Echad HaMaimet. Whether you do a lot or you do a little, it's the same as long as you have proper intention. No, it's a different interpretation. Echad HaMarbe, if you're doing K'vod Shamayim, you're doing for the sake of heaven. The Echad HaMaimet, and you don't care about yourself. For yourself, I don't care. I don't need the thanks. I don't need my name in the paper. I don't need everybody to give me a yashakayach. I'm doing it for the sake. Then it's the best thing. So he says that's what it means. Rashi in the beginning of the parsha. Rashi says, "Lokach vayikach Korach, lokach es atzmai v'tzadach." He only thought about one thing. He thought, yes, maybe I'm going to do Shem Shemayim, but he didn't think. But at the same time, he forgot. Echad HaMaimet, he forgot that when it comes to himself, he should push himself down. He picked himself up. You know when it's good, if you're Marbek K'vod Shamayim, you're trying to increase what's done for Ruchnis, for spirituality, but at the same time, for yourself, you don't care. But he didn't do that. Litzad Echad, he only thought about one side. But in other words, I'll quote, Esa Echad HaMaimet lehoisa lefi rucha. He didn't think about that. He pushed himself up at the same time when he was trying to increase his spirituality and the greatness of the Rebbeinu Shalom. I could accomplish so much. I could be like Aaron, I kind of even greater. But he didn't push himself down. He picked himself up. So parshas Korach, beautiful interpretation of the Majid, that Echad HaMarbe, you have to be Marbe K'vod Shamayim, but Maimit, when it comes to be Maimit, you have to be Maimit at yourself. You have to push yourself down. So Parshas Korach teaches us a lesson that's taught to us in several places in the Torah. Not only Cain and Hevel, not only about the Shvatim, where there's a whole discussion about what the Shvatim did wrong when they were so jealous of Yosef. We read on Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av, the Asar Harugei Malchus, the 10 martyrs, and maybe they were a kapara for the Shvatim. They were jealous of Yosef, and here, in this week's parsha, it's the extreme. Korach, who was a Pikeach, and Osher, he had all the meilis. He had everything. He was wealthy. He was a smart individual, a scholar, Talmud Chacham. He picked himself up where he shouldn't have picked himself up. He was jealous of Aaron. So we have to go through life trying to overcome our jealous habits. We can't be like that 2-year-old baby, infant, who then suddenly put another child next to him and his ball is a little bigger than his, and he's grabbing it away. A minute ago, you were so happy with your ball. Who cares? What's the difference if the child next to you has a bigger ball? But it's within our nature. It's within our nature. And how many people, if by themselves they're happy, they themselves are happy. But somebody else gets better? Oy vey! What did he get? So we learn from the Panovitcher Rav. The Panovitcher Rav, when he built Bnei Brak, he built yeshivas. Not only his yeshiva, he built other yeshivas. It should be a Makam Torah. Rav Shraga Feivel Mendelovich, Zecher Tzadik Avracha, my father's Rebbe, he built Torah V'das. Torah V'das was known as one of the pioneers of yeshivas, the mother of all yeshivas. And he used to send his bachrim away to other yeshivas, to start other yeshivas. And also the Balabatim were complaining, what are you doing? You're destroying Torah V'das. You built Torah V'das. Keep them here. So keep them here. It's not a monopoly. It's not a business. I'm not in a business. I'm in the business of trying to be Marbek K'vod Shamayim, of trying to honor HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If I could do it by sending my Talmidim to different places, I'm going to do it. Parshas Korach teaches us about jealousy. That it's echad hamarbe. We have to try to marbe kvod shemaim, honor the Rebbeinu Shalom on the highest level. But echad hamaymet, when it comes to us, it doesn't matter how many thanks we get. That's not the point. Echad hamaymet, we have to lower ourselves. You know, the Baal HaTurim, maybe with this I'll close just another few minutes. The Baal HaTurim says, Moshe Rabbeinu tries to calm Korach v'Adasa. He says, Hamat mikem, you Shevet Levi, you do so much service in the Mishkan. You're from the tribe of Levi. Uvikashtem gam kuhuna. You want to be a Kayin also. Rebbeinu Shalom gave you such an important position. You're Shevet Levi. Uvikashtem gam kuhuna. You want to be a Kayin like Aaron? So the Baal HaTurim says that the word uvikashtem, it also comes, there's another time, the Baal HaTurim finds other places in the Torah that use the same expression. It says, uvikashtem misham es Hashem elokecha. It says, you should search and want Hashem. So what is the Baal HaTurim? It says, uvikashtem gam kuhuna. Moshe Rabbeinu is telling Korach, you want to be a Kain? And then somewhere else it says in Torah, uvikashtem es Hashem elokecha. You should search and want HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Moshe Sternbach, Shlita, he says as follows. It means, you want to be a Kayin, it has to be only L'Shem Shemaim. It only has to be, Ubikashtem et bisham es Hashem elokecha. You're trying to tell me that you want to be a Kayin like Aaron, you want to even be, what is the position to Aaron? I can be the Kayin Gadol, I can be the Kayin. So it only is, Moshe Rabbeinu uses the same expression that's used somewhere else in the Torah. Ubikashtem gam kuhuna, you want to be a Kayin? Only if you have the right intention. Ubikashtem misham es Hashem elokecha, if you're searching out HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So let's analyze, when we think, many of us, we have these jealous, from time to time we're jealous of other individuals, and sometimes we say it's for the sake of heavens, especially in shuls and Bate Knesios, and there's many times, unfortunately, there's sometimes a machlokes, this one and that one, they say it's l'shem shamayim, but we have to sit and think for a moment. Is it uvikashtem es Hashem elokecha? Uvikashtem misham es Hashem elokecha? Is it for the sake of heaven? Is it echad hamarbe v'echad hamamit? Is it marbe kvod shamayim? You want to enhance, and the spirituality should be greater and greater, but is it also amaymit? Is it also we're lowering ourselves? So you have to learn this parshas Korach. We realize that we have to be sameach b'chelko. We have to be happy with what HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us. And of course, if we have the opportunity to become and be a shliach tzibur, representing the tzibur, representing the community, doing things of ruchnius, we don't jump at the position. Moshe Rabbeinu teaches us, he refused two times until finally he became the great Moshe Rabbeinu. So we don't jump at the position, but at the same time we have to have a balance. Humility, you have to be humble, but yet if we could accomplish, yes, we have to jump at that opportunity after 2 times of refusal, not to be the person who pushes everybody aside and says, I'm the one. So may we be zeichem and Hashem as we read parshas Korach. Korach, this week's parsha, teaches us how we have to refrain from jealousy, how if you're happy with what Kadosh Baruch Hu gives us. Yes, we have to try to enhance ruchnius, but not at the expense of others, not of pushing other people. Ezi machoike shaloi l'shem shamayim, it's Korach v'Adasai, but ezi machoike l'shem shamayim, Hillel v'Shami, they loved each other. They had a friendship. But yet they had arguments of what the proper halach is, Shammai and Hillel, what the derech Hashem is. So yes, sometimes we could have a dispute, have an argument, as long as it's Hashem Shammai. May we all be zeichem as Hashem as we read these parshios, especially this month we just began, Chodesh Tammuz. Chodesh Tammuz is the month where we begin the 3 weeks. Shavasa b'Tammuz is 3 weeks from today. It's 2 weeks from today. Where with the 3 weeks, the Bein HaMetzarim, 3 weeks and the 9 days, where Chazal tell us the reason why the Beis HaMikdash and every generation the Beis HaMikdash is not built is we're somewhat guilty. Sinas chinam, hatred, kina, anger and hatred and jealousy. So when we read this parsha in Chodesh Tammuz to remind us, shouldn't be jealous. We're happy what HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us. And in Mitzvah Hashem, we should be zoiche, to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. We refuse a little. But finally, Moshe Rabbeinu agrees, and then his purpose was, Echad HaMarbe, I want to be Marbek Kvod Shemayim, but Echad HaMarbe, I don't need the thanks. It's not to pick myself up. It's only to raise the level of spirituality and greatness of the Rebbeinu Shalom here in this world. We zoiche, Mitzvah Hashem, all of us, that we should greet Mashiach Tzidkeinu. We should be able to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. It should be avas chinam, not hatred and jealousy, but rather love of Klal Yisrael, be member of Klal Yisrael, and we should all come back to Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh from here. Amen. Amen. Velvo, if you could please close it. Have a great Shabbat.